Peace and blessings, family. This is your brother Asaram Hotep. And yesterday I posted a video recommending and discussing an aspect of the text by Dr. Ahati N. Torre titled John Henry Clark and the Power of African History, which is this text here. And I want to kind of continue that discussion and deal with an aspect of a subject that I mentioned within that discourse, and that is on the training of Dr. John Henry Clark through what we call the Independent African Academy. And so, because African people have not been traditionally the subjects of discourse in American schooling, even up to the college level, we've always had to have our own independent schooling system. And this has been established since the 1800s, right? And Dr. John Henry Clark went through that process. And so there were those who formally went through the academic system, but they always came back into the neighborhood and brought those research methodologies and those reference books and discussions to the community to be able to discover information on how to better serve the community and to get to know themselves better. And so we call that independent schooling the Independent African Academy. And there were 4 particular mandates of the Independent African Academies that still hold true to this date. And so you can also consider the whole Hillman talk as an aspect or an example of the Independent African Academy, right? The more well learned of us coming back and presenting that information and findings for which their expertise to the general community. And in the modern age, we're doing this through the TikTok forum, right? And so there's 4 independent features of there are 4 interdependent features of the Independent African Academy. And so that is the research methodology, the pedagogical methodology, the theoretical assumptions, and publication mandates. So under the research methodology, we're talking about the focus on the development of research libraries, specialized collections, extensive library research, emphasis on the use of both secondary and primary source materials, consultation of sources typically suppressed in the European Academy. Right? Then we have the pedagogical methodology, talking about close associations and mentorship between professors and students, lectures, discussions, directed readings, emphasis on international dimensions of African history, exploration of African history in relationship to the history of other non-African peoples, Pan-Africanist examination of international experience and interconnection of Africans globally, and under the theoretical assumptions, African agency as the historiographical starting point for historical interpretation, African nationalism and Pan-Africanism, skepticism of assimilationism, Europeanization and Christianization, and lastly, indigenous African culture as the basis for modern African human development and society. We would call that in the modern day an Afrocentric framework, right? And then lastly, the publication mandate, where we take all of that research in which we do and we distribute and create publications through Africa-controlled vehicles accessible to African audiences, right? So within that context, I want to recommend this other text. It's called Study Teams, Build Research, Publish, and Teaching Teams, right? By Doctors Ife Kilimanjaro, Taka Kilimanjaro, and Brother Yara Aneb, right? And they have come out with a whole slew of texts, probably 30 something to my knowledge right now, that spans the gamut on research, how to do and conduct research, how to publish. Of course, there's a study teams. There's another book called Research Teams. Um, there's Ma'at, dealing with the principle of Ma'at and a practical usage of the concept. You know, African time, writing history from the beginnings of time to the present, and you know what must be done. Survival organizations. There's a whole slew of texts that you'll see under the University of Kemet Press. And so, you know, this particular text will teach you how to get a group of individuals, no more than four, to start studying and taking notes, how to properly take notes, how to make publications, you know, out of it, and basically start your own schools. And so there's even a book here, uh, African K to 12 schools, right? So the objective is for us to expand the Independent African Academy, in more formal ways. So there are independent African, you know, center schools, and the like, just in the same way that, you know, Muslims have their own schools, Jews have their own school, Catholics have their own independent schools, and so we're talking about the same thing for, just black folks in general. And you know, and so you're teaching all kinds of subjects, not just African black history and the like. And so with that being said, I do appreciate your time. And again, the text is called Study Teams by Taka and Ife Kilimanjaro, and then our good brother, Yara Aneb, um, who co-authored this text right here, right? So leave a comment, please share. Talk to you later. Peace.